And welcome to the news from NTA's Top Table. For the next hour and a half, we'll bring you stories from all the geopolitical zones, key sectors of the economy, and issues that touch the lives of Nigerians in their quest to be the best version of themselves. Tonight, police apprehend more suspects linked to the killings in Plateau State on Christmas Eve. One, that there will be no hiding place for outlaws. On the economy, we have a special on a gold mine ready to be tapped, compressed natural gas, and the potential for exponential growth and development, of course, of a sector that will bring growth and development in Nigeria. On infrastructure, a bridge to development portions of Third Mainland Bridge being resurfaced, but like a surgery, some pain before relief. On transportation, electric cars continue to tickle the fancy of commuters in Maiduguri. Our correspondent gauges the voltage of enthusiasm and comes back with some interesting sparks. We also have our usual packages of business, the environment, health, anti-corruption campaign, and others. With the Africa Cup of Nations just 3 days away, we have our countdown series, and Ayodeji Makinde is standing by with all the color and details of the showpiece in Abidjan. As we say, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. I'm Yen Ray John, and this is News Extra. Welcome. Akwa State has joined the list of states seeking partnership with the federal government as President Bola Tinubu receives the Akwa State Governor, Umar Eno. The governor was at the State House to seek the support of the federal government to execute some projects, which include the state's agricultural program on oil and the Ibom deep sea port. Briefing the State House correspondents afterwards, Governor Eno expresses the belief that the Ibom deep sea port project has the potential to provide an alternative to the Lagos seaport.
Ibom deep sea port has the deepest drought that will bring in ship, and we can transship from that point. Again, Lagos is there, but you also know Lagos is congested. Of course, that is no story. So you need a deep sea port that will take care of the southeast, south-south, if you like, the Niger Delta region. Akwa Ibom is an oil palm zone, and we have started the process of revamping a moribund industry that has laid there for 28 years. It's being revamped right now. We need the support of the federal government to be able to have a full value chain and then bring our people to work and be able to help Nigeria. We can even get to exporting palm oil, because right now we're still importing a lot of it.
The governor of Akwa Ibom State there looking at other stories now. To perform its statutory functions of monitoring and enforcing financial responsibility in Nigeria, the Fiscal Responsibility Commission is working with the International Monetary Fund, IMF, to improve capacity. Boside Ebo reports that this is part of a 2-week technical assistance mission to Nigeria by the IMF.
Besides improving the skills of officials of the Fiscal Responsibility Commission, the International Monetary Fund is here to deepen relationship and develop strategies to better position the Commission for the renewed hope agenda of the present administration.
This training is targeting to improve the skills, the analytical skills of the officials within the FRC in looking at the medium-term expenditure framework, which is prepared by the government.
Chairman of the Commission, Victor Murako, commends the priority given to fiscal reforms by the present administration as a key driver of transparency, accountability, and war against corruption.
You know the role of Fiscal Responsibility Commission in the fiscal life of our country. So IMF, in their wisdom, think that part of what they should be doing to the Commission is to improve on the human resource of the Commission. That is why we're here.
The 2-week technical assistance mission is expected to reflect on performance at the Commission and the national fiscal regime. In Abuja, Bosede Ebo, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Nigeria Customs Service has surpassed its 2023 revenue target by 21.4% as it generated 3.2 trillion naira. The Comptroller General of the service, Adewale Adeni, at a news conference in Abuja, emphasized that customs will strategically implement policies that will enable it realize the 2024 target of more than 5 trillion naira. Kunle Adeyeye reports.
The service contended with issues like smuggling and lower transaction volume, which led to a shortfall of 532 billion naira in the first half of the year, but the new policy direction of the federal government in the last 2 quarters of 2023 bathed the breaking success. The chief custodian of Nigerian borders remarked that officers and men of the Nigeria Customs Service remained uncompromising in the fight against smuggling and illicit trade by making 3,806 seizures with a duty paid value of more than 16 billion naira in 2023 and achieved 52 convictions.
Recording a total revenue collection of 3,206,417,315 naira 47 kobo was the highest in the history of Nigeria Customs Service, and in some of the months we also achieved the highest monthly collections.
Projecting into year 2024, he itemized strict alignment with government policy direction, supporting the dynamics of Africa Continental Free Trade Agreements, modernizing customs operations, effective border management by leveraging the Nigeria Customs Service Act, human capital development, and extensive consultations as major antidotes to achieve its targets. Kunle Adeyeye, NTA News.
Those who should know say anytime the manufacturing sector gets active in an economy, wealth creation manifests. No wonder the federal government is harnessing the potentials in the manufacturing sector to create wealth, generate employment, and consolidate on the diversification of the economy. The Minister of Trade, Industry and Investment, Doris Uzoka Anite, said this while speaking during her working visit to Ogun State. Hakim Jimo was there.
The Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Doris Uzoka Anite, who was accompanied by top officers of the ministry, was received by Ogun State Governor Akwa at the State Secretariat to Kemoso, Abeokuta, where issues bordering on how to consolidate on the diversification drive of the federal government topped the agenda.
President Bola Tinubu is determined to tackle conclusively manufacturing and value chain addition or value addition is necessary for the growth and development of our country.
For Governor Akwa, the state government will not relent in the provision of needed policy framework and infrastructure for businesses to thrive in the state.
We are aggressively implementing that vision through our development pillars. As much as we prioritized the provision of infrastructure, we realize that you can provide all the infrastructure in the world. If there's insecurity, nobody will come.
The minister and her entourage, as well as Governor Abiodun, inaugurated a newly constructed multinational company at interchange along Abeokuta-Shagamu Expressway. The visitors thereafter embarked on facility tour of the project from interchange in Ogun State. Hakim Jimo, NTA News.
Let's now imagine a governor standing on his feet to personally hand over palliatives to about 70,000 male and female members of a community. Oh well, it took him 2 days, but he stayed and he lived with them in their village until he delivered. Mohammed Goni reports that it was a beautiful sight to behold as the people and their servant governor interfaced in an atmosphere of love and respect.
A gathering like this is akin to a political rally. It's, however, a moment of intervention for a community in need arising from prolonged era of insurgency. During the exercise, each of the 44,352 female beneficiaries got 5,000 naira and a fabric, while 23,105 male heads of households received 25 kg back each of rice and maize. Beneficiaries of the support appreciated the state government for the gesture. Governor Bagana Omar Azlum is particularly appreciative to the federal government for delivery of 10,000 bags of rice, which form part of the items distributed.
And I want to use this opportunity to announce the establishment of a committee that will look into the cases of harassed farmers' clashes. The members of this committee will include the DSS, the police, the representatives of all the emirate councils in Borno State, the Military Law Association, Al-Hayat Association, and then the government representatives.
As legislators, we are also going to give our maximum support and cooperation to the state government. And as part of our constituency project, we are going to ensure that we support our constituents with agricultural equipment.
Borno State government has been distributing palliative since 2019 to alleviate the sufferings of the citizens who are victims of insurgency. In Maiduguri, Mohammed Goni, NTA News.
I'm sure you agree that the governor deserves an applause for that feat, standing for so long. Benny, how long can you stand?
Well, I can stand for as long as I should.
All right, so let's see you deliver business.
Sure. Welcome to business. And now talking business, the government of Zambia says wheat farming is no longer a big farmer's affair, as support for small-scale farmers is underway amid the country's target of producing 1 million metric tons of wheat by 2027.
The beginning of the production, multiple production for rain-fed wheat in Zambia.
What essentially this means is that we now get small-scale farmers involved in wheat farming. We are graduating them from subsistence farming into creating sustainable livelihoods. And so in this pilot phase, we're targeting about 62,000 farmers, 1 hectare per farmer.
And looking at energy, oil prices inched higher on Wednesday, extending the previous day's rally after industry data showed U.S. crude stocks fell more than expected last week, though a bigger than anticipated build in products inventories capped gains. Brent crude futures rose 29 cents to $77.88 a barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures climbed 29 cents to $72.53 a barrel. The benchmarks gained about 2% on Tuesday amid the Middle East crisis and a Libyan supply outage. And a quick look at the currency market. The Naira closes the day at 1,082 Naira 32 kobo to a dollar, while the British pound was equivalent to 1,570 Naira and 980 Naira to the Canadian dollar. Let's take a look at all the figures. Looking at Nigerian stocks, investors lost 638.85 billion naira as the all share index declined for the very first time by 1.40%. The market ended the day on a negative breath, closing lower than 1,167.46 basis points. Market capitalization also recorded a loss of 638.85 billion naira, while the total volume traded advanced by 16.42% to close at 1.64 billion naira, valued at 25.38 billion, and traded in 20,223 deals. Transcorp was the most traded stock by volume with 117.64 million, while GTCO was the most traded stock by value with 3.28 billion naira units traded. At the close of trading, the market recorded 13 gainers, 60 losers, and 47 remained unchanged. That is business news. News Extra continues with Yenre. Yenre, it's nice doing business with you.
Many thanks, Benny. I still got some business stories here, but this particular one is not a cheering one, as the Central Bank of Nigeria has dissolved the board and management of Union, Keystone, and Polaris banks. A statement by the acting director, Corporate Communications of the Apex Bank, shows that the 3 banks failed to comply with the provisions of Section 12C, F, G, H of Banks and Other Financial Institutions Act 2020. The bank's infractions vary from non-compliance, corporate governance failure, disregarding conditions under which their licenses were granted, and involvement in activities that pose a threat to financial instability, among others. The CBN assures the public of the safety and security of depositors' funds and remains resolute in fulfilling its mandate to uphold a safe, sound and robust financial system in Nigeria. Now, President Bola Tinubu celebrates foremost businessman Fola Adeola as he marks his 70th birthday. President Tinubu felicitates with Mr. Adeola for reaching the milestone age and for his numerous contributions to the Nigerian business ecosystem by creating jobs, opening up investment opportunities across sectors, as well as promoting initiatives for the economic advancement of Nigeria. The president extols the integrity and patriotism of the founder of one of Nigeria's leading banks, describing him as a great asset to the nation. Now time for a break. Please stay. Welcome back. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has approved the appointment of a new board and management team for the National Hajj Commission, pending confirmation by the Senate. The appointees include Jalal Arabi, Chairman, Aliyu Abdul Razak, Commissioner, Policy, Personnel and Finance, Prince Anofi Elegushi, Commissioner, Operations, Professor Abubakar Yagawal, Commissioner, Planning and Research. Zonal representatives are Dr. Muhammad Umar Ndagi, North Central, Abba Jato Kala, North East, Sheikh Muhammad bin Othman, Northwest, Tajuddin Oladejo Abefe, Southwest, Aishat Obi Ahmed, Southeast, Zainab Musa, South-South, Professor Musa Inua Fudio, Jamatu Nasir, Islam, Professor Adedimeji Mahfouz Adebola, Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs. The President mandates the appointees to dedicate themselves to the task of ensuring that operations of the National Hajj Commission are more efficient, transparent and responsive to the needs of Nigerians. Similarly, President Bola Tinubu has approved the appointment of 9 persons to serve on the board of the Nigerian Christian Pilgrim Commission, NCPC. They are Colonel Aloche Adole, Chairman, Dr. Stephen Adegbite, Secretary, Omawumi Olubumi Ogunlola, Member, Southwest, Clement Alubu Unweke, Member, Southeast, Chief Prince Weli Wosu, Member, South-South, Professor Joseph Haruna Maman, Member, Northwest, Dr. Toma Hamidu Ranija, Member, Northeast, Dr. Simon Abu Samson Dolly, Member, North Central, Bishop Raphael Benjamin Nwakwo, Representative, Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN. The President urges the new appointees to consider their appointment as an opportunity to serve the nation. Looking at other stories now, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has granted administrative bail to the suspended Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Betta Edu, who is currently being investigated by the Commission. A source at the Commission disclosed that the suspended minister was invited sequel to the alleged case of misappropriation of funds in her ministry. Betta Edu is expected to be at the Commission every day for further clarification until the investigation is concluded. The Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has ordered the remand of the former Minister of Power and Steel, Olu Agunloye, in Kuje Correctional Center. The presiding judge, Justice Donatus Okorowo, gave the order following arraignment of the defendant before the court. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, as the prosecutory agency, arraigned Olu Agunloye over his alleged involvement in a $6 billion Mambila hydropower project. During his arraignment, Olu Agunloye, as the defendant in the matter, pleaded not guilty to all the counts. The defendant allegedly fraudulently awarded a contract for the project without the approval of the Federal Executive Council while serving as a minister under Olusegun Obasanjo's administration. Olu Agunloye is to remain in custody pending the determination of the bail application. And still on court-related issues, the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja has granted 2 weeks bail on health grounds to the suspended Dean of Law, University of Calabar, Professor Cyril Indefon, who is being tried for cyberbullying and sexual harassment of some of his students. Olabode Arewa reports that the court gave the ruling on the defendant's bail application during his trial in Abuja.
Professor Cyril Indefon was arraigned by the ICPC on a 4-count charge of allegedly using the privilege of his office as Dean, Faculty of Law, University of Calabar, to solicit for the nude pictures and videos of some of his female law students in order to facilitate favorable academic grades for them. In the brief filed before the court, ICPC says Professor Indifon's offences contravened the laws. He had been on remand pending conclusion of trial. This prompted his defense counsel, Okon Efut, senior advocate of Nigeria, to file an application for his bail, praying the court to allow the defendant to go for an eye surgery for glaucoma. But the prosecution counsel, Osuobeni Aponisiminga, opposed the bail application, describing it as a ploy to delay trial. But the court, on compassionate grounds, overruled the prosecution's motion and granted bail to the tune of 250 million naira and one shot to the defendant, while the defense counsel is to be the surety. The bail is to lapse after 2 weeks. Upon arraignment, Indifon had pleaded not guilty to the allegations. The matter is adjourned to 26th of January for the commencement of accelerated hearing. In Abuja, Olabodaro, NTA News.
And still in the courtroom, a federal high court sitting in Abuja has ordered that Senator Samuel Anyanwu should be recognized as the valid National Secretary of the People's Democratic Party, PDP. In a ruling on an ex parte motion filed by the two PDP members from Imo State, Jeffrey Ihetuge and Apollos Gotspower, the presiding judge, Justice Inyang Eko, restrained the PDP national leadership from appointing any person as acting National Secretary until December 9, 2025, when Anyanwu's 4-year tenure is expected to end, in line with Article 47 of the party's amended constitution. The court also gave an order restraining INEC from recognizing any other appointment or person as the acting or substantive PDP National Secretary.
He returned from his leave since May 2023, and because of that, the party was at fault for not showing to the court that he had returned to work since, and that shows bad faith. That's the essence of what the court just said.
The judge did his best. At the end of the day, notwithstanding that we are not pleased, I wait for that directive from my clients on the next day.
The plaintiffs had sued the PDP, its national chairman, other members of the National Executive Committee and INEC, seeking to prevent what they termed as attempts to arbitrarily remove an elected party official in a manner that is strange to the party's constitution. Away from the courtroom now, the tears are still dripping and the prayers of God's intervention still on. This is the story of families that lost loved ones at a Plateau killing at the Christmas Eve in 2023. But here is a consoling story. The Nigeria Police Force has apprehended 3 suspects in connection with that sad incident. The suspects of this inhuman act forms part of Francis Form's report as police parade suspects of different crimes.
It was a harvest of arrest for the operatives of the Special Tactical Squad and the Intelligence Response Team of the Nigeria Police Force across the country. These 3 suspects are also in police net for their alleged involvement in the killings of more than 100 villagers in Bokos, Barkin-Ladi and Mangu local government areas of Plateau State. 12 suspects were before now apprehended by the Plateau State Command of the Nigeria Police Force for the same offense.
Upon the arrest, the following exhibits were recovered: 1 ash-colored golf car, 1 AK-47 rifle, 1 AK-49 rifle, 1,000 rounds of live ammunition, and 5 magazines.
You remember the Otukpo Bank robbery attacks that led to the killings of several police personnel, including the divisional police officer and several civilians? Then, this may interest you as well. The Nigeria Police Force has arrested additional 4 suspects at their hideout in Boruku local government area of Benue State.
They also narrated and revealed how they got their arms on loan for every operation from one Tazungwe Shonda, aka 3-star general, now late, and also some from Kalumon, Pila, and Nayuko, both at large, and we are working to make sure we get them apprehended.
This young girl has been in captivity since 2017 and was rescued in 2021. Courts pronounced that the force should try as much as possible to reunite the girl with her family. Other suspects apprehended were car snatchers, suspected murders of 3 Fulanis in Kuje Area Council of the FCT. A total of 5,454 rounds of different caliber of live ammunition, 3 live cartridges, 68 rifles, 19 different brands of vehicles, and 4 motorcycles, among others, were recovered from the suspects. Francis from NTA News.
Many thanks, Francis. Indeed, expectations are high that security situation would improve in 2024. Now to our next story. Now, this is one which we on the News Extra team wish was not true. But alas, we have to bring it to you. The family of Wasila Suleiman is still trying to come to terms with the disappearance of their newborn baby at the Dalhatu Arab Specialist Hospital, Lafia, shortly after being delivered through cesarean section. The incident, which occurred Tuesday, has also thrown the hospital community into confusion and disarray. Victoria Ojito, you have been there. What's up?
The arrival of a newborn, no doubt, comes with joy to every family. But for the family of Malam Suleiman, their joy hangs in the balance. What happened after a successful delivery through cesarean section still leaves much to be desired. Investigations indicate that after a successful delivery and the mother as well as the baby were transferred to the postnatal unit, where it is mandatory for nursing mother to present a guardian who takes care of the baby, which was done. While basking in the euphoria of the arrival of the newborn, another woman came to celebrate with the family, which the guardian handed over the newborn baby to while she takes her bath. But the unidentified woman disappeared with the baby. The guardian said the woman the baby was handed over to pretended to be a familiar person to the family. The woman staying with us left and handed my baby to the woman who is neither known to her or the family. I am feeling pain in my heart. I want my baby. Reacting to the development, the management of the hospital said the unfortunate incident was as a result of negligence on the part of the guardian.
Currently, all the people involved are under investigation, and most likely the police will be able to unravel the mysterious woman that came and took away the woman's baby.
Though the case is said to have been reported to the police, efforts to get their comments were not successful, as at the time of filing this report, efforts were on by all concerned to recover the baby. This is the first case of stolen baby at the Dalhatu Arab Specialist Hospital. In Lafia, Victoria Kaswa Ojito, NTA News.
After 9 months of pregnancy and then delivery, that story is indeed heart-wrenching. We hope that the baby is found somehow. Looking at other stories now, we all know the saying, when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. No wonder security experts are calling for citizens' active participation in the fight against insecurity, especially with the increased spate of kidnappings around the boundary communities and suburban locations contiguous to the Federal Capital Territory. While inadequate awareness may be a challenge, Onotu Yakubu brings us to speed with expected role by stakeholders to improve sensitization amongst vulnerable groups in the nation's capital.
Buhari shares boundary with Niger, Kaduna and Nasarawa states. The police often argued that most of these affected communities are tens of kilometers drive from the nearest security posts. Worse still, the access roads are not motorable. These factors, amongst others, they say, have made policing such locations chaotic.
Villagers themselves are not even helping the matter because some of them are informants to these hoodlums. Informants to the fact that when the security agencies, the police, the army are in one flank, they get the information. So they move to areas that security agencies are not, around. Why do they know that? Because somebody is giving them the information, either for monetary gain or whatever, we do not know.
Chief Rufus Egbeba is the chairman, Police Community Relations Committee, PCRC, FCT. He believes that state actors, such as the National Orientation Agency, as a matter of urgency, needs to galvanize synergy with security agencies and relevant civil society organizations to drive aggressive sensitization on security consciousness in such vulnerable areas.
Very key. The traditional institutions must be involved, the police must be involved, and government must also create that consciousness. And I want to also say the National Orientation Agency must also come out to say that. How do we sensitize to ensure that citizens are involved in issues of security? The need for citizens to be more proactive, to be more effective. Communities that are with, particularly the border communities in the FCT, it's very important that this the issue of security watch groups have been established. The issue of the vigilantes must also be properly coordinated.
You don't have to disclose or discuss your financial transactions in the open. I've seen situations where somebody went to sell a land, the person sold it for 20 million, and the person came and shared the information with his friends, and at the end of the day, the person was kidnapped.
While residents are still perturbed over these sundry security challenges, the people expect the agencies to take more proactive measures by strengthening intelligence as well as attention focused on deployments for pin downs. In Abuja, Onotu Yakubu, NTA News.
Security is everybody's business, as they say. Now, National Economic Council Committee Against Crude Oil Theft says a comprehensive roadmap has been drawn on ways to tackle the growing surge of crude oil theft in oil-producing communities in the country. The committee was speaking shortly after its inaugural meeting, where it decried the drastic drop experienced in the national production benchmark and promised to foster solutions that will revamp the sector.
This menace is called crude oil theft that has reduced our production status drastically and has caused untold hardship to the country and almost tampering with the solvency margin of our currency.
The committee, which earlier held a closed-door session, affirmed that every necessary measure is being taken to deliver on its national mandate.
Our concern, which is the concern of all Nigerians, is to restore the Nigerian oil production profile to either better what it used to be, or at the best, at least where it was, which is 2.something million barrels a day. And we are committed not to disappoint the expectations of the National Economic Council.
The committee comprises governors of oil-producing states and former national chairman of the APC and governor of Yobe State, Mala Bene. The federal government has renewed its commitment to strengthening bilateral relations on defense with France. The Minister of Defense, Mohamed Abubakar Badaru, stated this while receiving the outgoing ambassador of France to Nigeria, Emanuela Blackman, at the Ship House, Abuja. The minister assured that Nigeria is prepared to upskill training and technology transfer to enhance Nigerian armed forces. The outgoing ambassador has been appointed the head of the African and Indian Ocean at the Foreign Affairs Ministry in France and promised to deepen defense cooperation with Nigeria. And away from bilateral relations, the chairman and chief executive officer of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, Brigadier General Mohammed Buba Marwa, retired, says upgrade of the forensic laboratory of the agency by the United States Bureau of International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Affairs will enhance operational standards in its renewed fight against substance abuse and illicit drug trafficking in Nigeria. Marwa, who stated this at the commissioning of the agency's newly refurbished forensic laboratory in Lagos, noted that the facility is expected to provide state-of-the-art analytical equipment for enhancing forensics evidence-based analytical processes. He was represented by the agency's spokesman, Femi Babafemi. The U.S. Consul General in Nigeria, Will Stevens, who highlighted the expected benefits from the project, added that the U.S. Bureau on Drugs, as well as the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, will collaborate more with the NTA towards ridding Nigeria of illicit drugs production, importation, and consumption. All right, let's now bring you up to speed with the preparation for AFCON, Africa Cup of Nations in Cote d'Ivoire. I've got Ayo Deji Makinde right here. Ayo, how is the build-up to the tournament?
Well, it's getting bigger and better. You know, it's the 34th edition of the Africa Cup of Nations, and many Nigerians can't just wait for it to start. Hello and welcome to the Africa Cup of Nations countdown on the Nigerian Television Authority with me, Ayo Deji Makinde. We'll begin with three-time African champions, the Super Eagles of Nigeria, who have settled down in Abuja after their chartered flight from Lagos arrived the Ivorian capital. The style-personified squad, dressed in white kaftan attire and cap to match, was received by a music band at the airport, where team officials led by coach Jose Pesero and players looked nearly unrecognizable without their famous tracksuits. Captain Ahmed Musa is leading 24 other players as Nigeria aims at going for a fourth AFCON title after previous triumphs in 1980, 1994 and 2013. Nigeria is drawn in Group A with Equatorial Guinea, Guinea-Bissau and host country, Côte d'Ivoire. In another development, reigning champions Senegal are in Côte d'Ivoire for their title defense after they were sent forth by President Macky Sall in Dakar. The Lions of Teranga's star player Sadio Mane, who recently got married, is joined by a formidable team of stars, including captain Kalidou Koulibaly, Cheku Kouyaté, Idrissa Gana Gueye, Ismaila Sarr, and Nicholas Jackson. Coach Aliou Cisse, who captained the team to the 2002 finals in Mali, where they lost eventually to Cameroon, are up against arch-rivals Cameroon again, Guinea and the Gambia in Group C, and is expected to qualify with ease, barring surprises. Also, members of Mozambique are full of confidence that they could be one of the dark horses at the 34th AFCON, which kicks off on Saturday. Coach Chiquinho Koundé endured an 8-hour flight full of confidence, but must first attempt to survive Group C, which has the Pharaohs of Egypt, the Black Stars of Ghana, and the Blue Sharks of Cape Verde. Mozambique, ranked 111th in the world by FIFA, are making a fifth appearance at the biggest football tournament in Africa. Now let's take a look at teams in Groups E and F and their chances of progression at this year's tournament. Austin Edemodu is our guide.
Parades Tunisia, Namibia, Mali and South Africa will entertain their fans at the 20,000 capacity Amadou Goncola Stadium. Tunisia hosted and won the tournament in 2004 and reached the final twice in 1965 and 1996. Meanwhile, Bafana Bafana of South Africa are the second most successful team in Group E, having won the 1996 edition before reaching the final 2 years later. Though Mali have never won the AFCON tournament but were runners-up in 1972. Finally, Group F matches will be hosted at the 20,000 capacity Lauren Poco Stadium in San Pedro, with Morocco, Tanzania, DRC Congo, and Zambia as the contending teams. The Atlas Lions of Morocco, who are one of the tournament's favorites, have only won the competition once in 1978 and since then reached final once in 2004. Leopards of the Democratic Republic of Congo are the most successful in this group, having won it in 1968 and 1974. Zambia won the AFCON tournament in 2012 and have reached the finals twice in 1974 and 1994. Tanzania, who are regarded as the minnows in this pool, have never made it beyond the group stage.
And that's our AFCON countdown, with about 71 hours or thereabouts to go to the kickoff of that big match. Thanks for your time, and it's back to Ian Ray for the rest of News Extra.
By the way, Ayo, what's your prediction for the Super Eagles in that tournament?
Super Eagles should qualify from Group A, but it's going to be quite a test against the host country, the Elephants of Cote d'Ivoire.
All right, many thanks, Ayo. We hope that Super Eagles actually fly. All right, we're not flying away. We're still right here. But let's take a break. Stay with us. We're back. As Nigeria transits to the use of compressed natural gas with the establishment of converting centers in some parts of the country, energy experts say the move, apart from helping the country in its journey towards achieving net zero emission, will also contribute to the nation's economic growth. Here's the report.
As part of ways of addressing the challenges that come with the removal of fuel subsidy, the Presidential Compressed Natural Gas Initiative inaugurated a compressed natural gas vehicle pilot conversion center in Lagos on 29th of October 2023. As government continues to replicate such center in other parts of the country, experts say Nigerians will no longer worry about fuel subsidy removal as CNG is cheaper.
If we want to make very good use of this, CNG, it's going to make, Nigeria to be economically viable.
This, experts say, will reduce the rate of unemployment as both skilled and unskilled job openings will be created, in addition to generating conducive business environment for MSMEs to thrive.
The intention is to continue to ensure affordability, to ensure that we drive domestic gas demands.
Data shows that over 5 million cars ply Lagos roads daily. This contributes to carbon emission from factories and industries in the state. The effects of climate change are becoming real each day, and world leaders as well as climate experts are advocating the use of eco-friendly sources of energy to address the problem.
CNG is cleaner. During the whole combustion process, when CNG is used for transportation, it releases much less greenhouse gas emissions.
The establishment of a CNG conversion center in Lagos is commendable as it is projected to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in the state by 70%. In Lagos, Hinginu, John Adams, NTA News.
All right, petroleum subsidy removal has come to stay, though some Nigerians are yet to come to terms with it and the attendant consequences. While this has prompted many into cutting down of trees for charcoal, which invariably poses a far greater danger to health and the environment, efforts targeted at reforestation cannot be ignored. Charles Alpha in this report examines the impact of this trend on livelihoods and the ecosystem.
I have consistently maintained the position that the fuel subsidy had to go.
By President Bola Tinubu upon assumption of office may have been welcomed in some quarters with open arms. Yet, the ripple effects, even though temporary, are being felt by many Nigerians, especially those in the rural areas.
Kerosene, that water bottle, that small one, is now 1,000 naira. And gas, 1 kg is 1,100. So none of them that is cheaper now.
Prices of cooking gas and kerosene have continued to rise despite the fact that the country sits on more than 206 trillion standard cubic feet of gas and the much talked about decades of gas policy. Prices of these commodities have surged, creating a massive shift to an alternative means of cooking, and it is coal and firewood. For people who are into the business of cooking, they see the use of firewood as a more cheaper alternative for them to be able to break even in their businesses. The piles of woods I see on his business premises speak volumes about just how much he prefers it over cooking gas.
Firewood is more cheaper. Before we use gas and we use firewood and charcoal. But because of these increments, we shifted back to where we are coming from, which is using of the firewood.
These harmful human activities are already impacting negatively on the microclimate of the environment, causing deforestation and land degradation. Just how much is being done to replace trees cut down for these and other purposes?
The government is giving support for the Great Green Wall, and the essence of Great Green is to plant trees and plant trees. And we are doing that. Instead, we have to work with the state government, we have to work with the local government.
Nigeria has mobilized tens of thousands of youths nationwide to plant 250,000 trees annually to honor a pledge to plant 25 million trees by 2030.
We are into massive reforestation programs. So our mandate is to restore degraded area.
Government have to bring down the prices of these products to make it available for the ordinary man to use to cook.
Say the way out is that the prices of liquefied petroleum gas or cooking gas and kerosene should be reduced, while relevant agencies be funded to adequately protect and conserve the forest. Charles Alpha, NTA News.
Many thanks, Charles. We need to up our game if we must solve the problem of climate change. All right, now the mega phase of work to resurface failed portions of the 3rd Mainland Bridge has commenced. And motorists plying the road describe the planned diversion of traffic as impressive and encouraging. Larry Billy reports.
Traffic diversion from Urushoki area of Lagos entering into the island have been rearranged to ease movement of vehicles around the axis where the repair works is ongoing.
When there's a rehabilitation or repairs on the bridge, the 3rd Mainland Bridge, there's always the tendency to lay a new asphalt over the old ones that are no longer good. And this, the engineers have said, has created what we call a super elevation on the bridge. So now for proper rehabilitation, what they are trying to do is to scrape away all those ones that they've laid on the bridge over the years and start a new one afresh, which will be 2 inches thick.
There are expansion joints to connect one panel to another. So those ones, they have taken level of that one. So if you put an existing asphalt, it won't flush with that expansion joint. And we're not going to remove all the expansion joints. We're just going to remove the defective ones.
Lagos residents who went through the diversion process describe it as encouraging.
It's stressful. God will help them. That they will fasten the job. Not as before that they will promise 3 months, it will be 4 or 5 months.
It's the only way leads to the island, apart from the other road. So we will cope.
You can see now they are removing the asphalt. By the time they finish it, and then they ask people to move to this side, it will hit the other side. That means there will be a free flow of movement.
For the next 8 weeks, this new routine is expected to be adhered to by motorists. In Lagos, Larry Bileyi, NTA News.
And still on transportation, the Federal Capital Territory Administration is set to introduce a unified standard transportation system in the nation's capital. Directorate of Road Traffic Services, Abdulateef Bello, disclosed this during a stakeholders engagement meeting in Abuja. Onoze Yakubu has more.
The FCT is planned to introduce a unified transportation system in the FCT is sequel to the recovery of taxi ranks which is aimed at overhauling the transportation system. Directorate of Road Traffic Services says the world is fast evolving, hence the need to move with the new trend.
Everything is being done now. Arrangement is being put together to ensure a complete, migration from what you used to know. It's going to sound like a revolution in the transportation, ecosystem that city. And I believe there's need for us as stakeholders to put heads together to understand this new, beginning. Whether people like it or they don't like it, because that's why we are created as an organization.
The director also reveals that the administration plans to float buses that use compressed natural gas, all in a bid to rid the roads of rickety vehicles and address the challenge of mass transit in the FCT.
FCT cannot remain stagnant. We cannot continue to, remain where we are. We have to move.
Key players in the transportation industry comment the initiative.
It's not easy for you bringing this idea, trying to make it work is business of all of us. So we appreciate that, and we are saying we are going to give you every support for you to succeed.
They, however, call for massive sensitization of the motoring public ahead of the commencement of the planned operation. Onoze Akubu, NTA News.
Let's head to Maiduguri now, where commuters are still euphoric about government's recent deployment of 100 cute and sleek electronically charged vehicles for commuting. The beauty of this move is that the vehicles are not only environmentally friendly, but are mitigating the costs implication of fuel subsidy removal. Now, the move is seen by many as another plus for the Borno State government for being the first in Nigeria to put these types of vehicles on the road. Fatima Issa explores the cosmopolitan city to bring us insight into this development.
Electricity, a versatile resource, is now harnessed in Maiduguri to power vehicles, offering a cost-effective and easily maintainable alternative.
Technology has been advancing because in those days only fossil fuels were used for transportation and all aspect of engineering. But now a lot of innovation has come up. The issue of using solar lightings and battery has brought a lot of changes to not only the transport sector but almost to all facets of the development.
Residents of Maiduguri applauded the government's efforts, describing the move as commendable, and that which will go a long way in ensuring a carbon emission-free environment as the global community struggles with how best to tackle the phenomenon.
Over some years ago, we never have this type of car, so we really appreciate the governor, the excellency about the car.
The car is comfortable and has reduced the cost of transportation for us.
I was like, wow, this is a welcome development. It makes things easy, the cost is cheap compared to the normal keke we used to enter.
We appreciate His Excellency for this great stride.
Maiduguri residents are optimistic that this shift will not only reduce transportation fares, but also contribute to a healthier environment. In Maiduguri, Fatima Issa, NTA News.
Many thanks, Fatima, for that report, but I honestly want that car of yours. I remember a Federal Road Safety slogan during the days of Osita Chidoka. I'm sure you remember when he was a court marshal. It used to be safer roads, fuller lives. Now, weeks after the launch of a program by the Federal Roads Maintenance Agency aimed at rehabilitating failed sections of major highways in Nigeria, roads in Kogi State are becoming safer for travelers. Jonathan Omajali reports that a FEMA inspection team recently visited the state to assess the quality and progress of the projects.
Ghastly accidents such as the ones witnessed on the ever-busy Itobi-Aniba Highway
A route connecting the north to the southern and eastern parts of the nation through Kogi State remain a common occurrence. The deteriorated segments of the road pose nightmares for drivers, contributing to accidents and vehicular breakdowns. However, there is a noticeable transformation as the road gradually becomes a safer route, following extensive rehabilitation efforts by the Federal Road Maintenance Agency. This intervention is a component of the Operation Connect to Your Destination program, initiated by the agency in December to address critical failures and washouts along major roads nationwide.
And the mandate from the MD is that as these jobs take off, we should also go around to monitor the progress of such work and be sure that a good and quality work are being done.
The projects consist of cutting of potholes, scarification of first sections, laying of stone base in the affected first sections and potholes, priming the stone base, and asphalt overlay.
Last 4 years, this road was good.
Please, I would like to urge the government to provide the necessary needs so that they will make sure the road is okay.
This section of the road along Itobe and Igba Highway is one of the critical areas affected by flooding. For years, it has been a nightmare for travelers. Thankfully, FEMA has brought the needed intervention.
What you are seeing behind me is what we call washout. Washout is where rain surface runoff, water that flows on after rain. The whole of this place, by the special grace of God, with the work done on the carriageway, this place would have been protected.
Failed sections and washouts along the Ajaokuta-Okene Road are also earmarked for reconstruction once funds become available. Jonathan Omajali, NTA News.
Motorable roads are a necessity, and this next report is also on a road. With about 50 years of existence, the Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa housing estate has now become a host to the Nigerian Television Authority office in Bauchi State. That's not the news. Despite this historic position of the estate in remembering laudable contributions of the late Nigerian Prime Minister, residents in the area have continued to witness a deplorable road network. That's the report. And Abdullahi Aminu, in this report, feels the pause of the residents on this situation.
This is the main road linking to a historic Abubakar Tafawa Balewa estate in Bauchi Metropolis, built in 1978. Named to immortalize the former Prime Minister, the estate is now a host to the Nigerian Television Authority office in Bauchi State. The challenge is of the access roads that has prompted the state government to embark on the renovation work, which started in the last 8 years but later abandoned.
The distance between where the construction stopped and where we are asking for is not up to half kilometer.
We will call on government to please extend the road to the people that are beyond Tafawa Balewa housing estate for the benefit of all.
It is, however, in line with the promise made by the present administration in the state that the reconstruction work has resumed.
We are very delightful and grateful for this wonderful job that the Executive Governor of Bauchi State, Senator Bala Abdelkader Muhammad, is doing in our area.
Seeing the road atmosphere beyond the stoppage point of the project is worrisome, including the entrance of the Nigerian Television Authority and Government Comprehensive Day Secondary School alongside other communities in the area.
Appeal to government to actually extend the road project to some of the few public institutions that we have off there.
Now that the reconstruction work continued, the hope of the people is for the government to ensure its total rehabilitation for an improved socio-economic and security to be realized. In Bauchi, Abdullahi Aminu, NTA News.
And away from issues of roads, the National Hydroelectric Power Producing Area Development Commission, HYPODEC, has committed more than 200 million naira to revitalize the Bidda waterworks for effective and efficient water supply. Managing Director of the Commission, Abubakar Sadiq Yowa, while on inspection visit to the abandoned water project, says when operational, will ameliorate acute potable water supply in the area. Husseina Musa completes the reports.
The Bidda Waterworks, established in the early 1970s, served as the major source of water supply to Bidda township areas and other adjoining communities with about 10,000 cubic meters capacity. Report indicates that the moribund water station has been left in a state of disrepair since 2013 due to inadequate power supply to operate the improved pumping machines at the waterworks. To this end, Hyperdeck decided to bring succor to the people of the area by upgrading the water station's power supply from 11 kVA to 33 kVA to achieve optimal production.
Going by the assessment of my engineers from the commission, I am satisfied before the middle of this year, this project can be commissioned by the Nigeria State Government as part of contributions of Hyperdeck to the community and to the state.
This is a waterworks that we categorize as lamella type of waterworks, where 10,000 cubic meter will be treated per hour and be supplied to the communities.
The project, which is at 60% completion stage, is expected to be completed in the next couple of months according to the specifications, and when the intervention becomes operational, it will solve the long-term inadequate potable water supply in the area. Husseina Musa, NTA News.
You know what I say, water is life and clean water is health. Let's take another break. Please stay with us. Glad to have you back. Holidays are ended. Back to school we go. Remember that rhyme? Okay. Well, it used to be a jolly good one when schools reopened. That's in the past. Well, not any longer, like I said. As parents are no longer smiling when schools reopen, especially after a festive season like now. Though the challenging situation, education, however, is accepted as the life wire of a nation for growth and development. And so it is imperative that challenges facing the educational sector are tackled by all stakeholders. Now this comes to fore. Schools commence learning activities for the second term of the 2023-2024 academic year. Doris Akomoye tells us more.
To some educational institutions in Yenagoa, the Bayelsa state capital, shows a decent atmosphere, as if all is well. But it is not as portrayed, hence parents' advocacy for improvements. They are concerned about school facilities, quality of service and welfare of the caregivers.
I'm not happy about the environment. The environment is not conducive for learning.
Infrastructures, go to the nursery, the primary one and nursery section. It's nothing to write home about.
With the Yuletide over and the new year setting in, the bulk of the burden falls back on the parents who bear the brunt of the payment of school fees and other bills in the new academic term.
Like some of them are in boarding, very far distance, and transport fare is very high.
What I did was I decided to pay part of the fees in December, so that when they resume, I will find, at least by January ending, I could be able to balance up the fees.
As the economic situation continues to bite hard, these education stakeholders appeal to relevant authorities to review school fees to all children in assessing qualitative education.
They should see how they can help parents, looking at the hard times where parents have found themselves.
In the first week of school's resumption here in the Yenagoa, Bayelsa state capital, is relatively slow. It is hoped that the concerned authorities would address lingering issues in the educational sector. In Yenagoa, Doris Akomoye, NTA News.
Maybe I should ask how many parents have paid fees already. All right, what do you think about that? In line with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's renewed hope agenda, the Federal Ministry of Education, in collaboration with Kwara State Universal Basic Education Board, has flagged off the national campaign on out-of-school children in Kwara State. Shola Wahid reports.
Statistics show that 1 in 3 children are out of school in Nigeria, 10.2 million at the primary level and 8.1 million at the junior secondary level. Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Maman, represented, explained that poverty, gender bias, insurgency, outbreak of COVID-19, among others, were factors responsible for out-of-school children.
The task of getting our children out of the streets is achievable if all stakeholders in the education sector lend our collective efforts in this direction.
We have to start from the enrollment out of the school children. This will help us to channel our course.
Chairman, Kwara State Universal Basic Education Board, Professor Shehu Adaramaja, said SUBEB will ensure that out-of-school children in Kwara State will be drastically reduced by the year 2027.
Data from various sources, particularly from our annual school census and education survey conducted by Kwara SUBEB, indicates that a notable percentage of primary and secondary school age children in the state are yet to be enrolled in formal education system.
Out-of-school beneficiaries were given school bags, writing materials, and shoes. The pride of any state or nations of the world depends on the structure, status, and achievement of its basic education. In Ilorin, Shola Wahid, NTA News.
From education now, let's look at religion. An empire that reigned for centuries and became one of the greatest Islamic caliphates known in the world was also the first entry point of Islam in Nigeria and sub-Saharan Africa, historically called Central Belad al-Sudan. The Kanem-Borno Empire, till today, has remained the center of Islamic knowledge and civilization. Maimuna Garba in Maiduguri delves into the beautiful history of the empire that ushered Islam into Nigeria.
Kanem-Borno Empire is one of the oldest empires of the Muslim world. The empire made its first contact with Islam through trade links with the Arabs. Hence, the trade route provided the gateway for Islam to penetrate to Kanem-Borno around 7th century AD. Besides activities of traders and Islamic teachers who primarily came for business, political leaders and elites were convinced to embrace Islam and eventually began applying Islamic principles in administration and judicial activities. Some local converts assumed the honorable role of spreading the faith among their relations and friends.
It is through Kanem-Borno's influence that neighboring western states who were also bordering Borno to the east got the influence of Islam. It was Islamic scholars from Kanem-Borno that actually Islamized most of the Hausa states.
Islam was the major religion even at the time the Sokoto jihadists invaded Borno, during which scholars responded vehemently, and Sheikh Alamin El-Kenemi further repositioned Islam and gave emphasis in the teaching of hadiths, fiqh, peace and moral lessons, among others. These values over the years were embedded in the Kanuri cultures and traditions.
Teaching of Islam is all about peace. So people always love peace. That's why the Kanuris, particularly the Kanuris, those speaking and the non-speaking Kanuris are docile. They are tamed because of the teaching of the Quran.
Its position in propagating Islam led to establishment of many Sangaya and Islamic schools, a long-time system of education that is still relevant.
The future prospect of Islam among the people of Borno is very promising. The children are going to Islamic school in the morning hours, in the evening hours, in the weekends.
For centuries, Borno has continued to be the center of Quranic education, as people across the globe have to link up with the state in search for the knowledge. In Maiduguri, Maimuna Garba, NTA News.
Now the news, the British High Commissioner to Nigeria, Dr. Richard Montgomery, has re-emphasized the important role of the Nigerian diaspora in the United Kingdom and pledged more collaborations with Nigerians in Diaspora Commission. Dr. Richard Montgomery, while on a courtesy visit on the NIDCOM chairman, Abike Dabiri-Erewa, stressed the need for enhanced trade and investment between both countries, adding that the UK-Africa summit, scheduled to hold later this year, is a strategic opportunity to galvanize trade and investment for both countries and the African continent at large. NIDCOM boss Dabiri-Erewa underscored the imperatives of cultural exchanges, advocating the revival of the Cultural Roadshow, initially slated for 2020, but deferred due to COVID-19 pandemic. Another break is due. Remain tuned. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu condoles with the family of His Eminence Sheikh Abdul Hafiz Ashamu Abo Baba Adini of Lagos and chairman of the Executive Council of Lagos Central Mosque, who passed away at 100 years. The president celebrates his legacy of service, duty and sacrifice, noting his extraordinary contributions to the Muslim Ummah in Lagos State and beyond. All right, let's now take a peep into tomorrow, weather-wise.
To our viewers, we expect cloudy, rainy and dusty weather by Thursday. Dry and dusty as we get towards the north and the north-central cities, where dust haze is expected. And with the incursion of moisture over the southern region, we expect patches of cloud with haziness across the region. We also expect development along the coastal region by afternoon, where isolated thunderstorms are expected across parts of Lagos, Bayelsa, Delta, Rivers, and Edo State. Air quality is expected to be unhealthy over most parts of the country and moderate over the coastal cities and parts of the inland cities of the south. I leave you with the weather forecast across some selected cities.
That's it, our package on News Extra tonight. Many thanks for investing your time with us. Do have a good night.